Right now, in early 2026, the global economy isn't just hitting a rough patch, it's actually fracturing. What started as a trade war has ballooned into something, well, something much bigger. We're talking about a great decoupling, and it's reordering the entire world as we know it. So, what's at the very heart of all this friction? Well, it's the weighted average US tariff, and it has absolutely surged to a staggering 14%. Now, I know what you're thinking. 14%? What's the big deal? But to really get a sense of what that means, you have to go back 80 years to find a number that high. We are talking about the highest level since 1946. Think about that. We're in completely historic territory here. These are the kinds of economic walls we haven't seen since right after World War II ended. And the potential fallout, it is just immense. I mean, the IMF put out a study, and they're warning that a full decoupling, well, that could slash 7% from global GDP. We're talking about wiping out trillions of dollars from the world economy. So you see, this isn't just some trade squabble anymore. This is a fight for who gets to write the rules for the entire 21st century. You know, that whole era of open markets, of those seamless supply chains that really defined the last few decades, it's disappearing right before our eyes. We are absolutely entering a new age, an age of strategic competition. Welcome to macro syntax. Okay, so how on earth did we get to this point? Let's start by digging into the core of this conflict, this world that's now just full of intense economic friction. The tariff war, the one between Washington and Beijing, it has escalated to levels we've just never seen before. And this isn't just some headline you skim past. No, this is hitting the markets hard, and it's rewriting the rules of global trade in real time. And just look at the scale of this latest escalation. It is truly staggering. The US has slapped a massive 145% tariff on Chinese goods. And, of course, China has fired back with a 125% tariff of its own on American products. Let's be clear, these aren't warning shots anymore. This is a full-blown economic war. All right, so this conflict is really the engine driving a much, much bigger strategic shift. And that brings us to the central idea, the key concept of this new era, the Great Decoupling. And this is so much more than just a bunch of taxes on goods. Decoupling, it's a deliberate, strategic move to completely untangle the world's two biggest economies. You can almost think of it like economic surgery, but on a global scale. But, trying to decouple creates its own set of huge challenges. And one of the biggest is what everyone's calling the backdoor problem. This is where goods just find a sneaky way around the tariffs. And the US response to this? It's been incredibly severe. So here's the game plan. China ships its goods to a third country. Think Vietnam or even an ally like Canada. That country then just reroutes the goods straight to the US. So to shut this down, Washington is now threatening its own allies with absolutely crippling tariffs, all to close these backdoor loopholes. And all of this leads to another really critical idea you need to understand, the whiplash effect. See, the impact of these tariffs, it isn't immediate. At first, companies just burn through all their old inventory, the stuff they bought before the tariffs. But once that inventory is gone, prices snap back, and they snap back hard with a vengeance. And that creates a massive, sharp spike in inflation. So what does all this actually look like in the real world? Let's dive into the tangible shockwaves that are hammering critical industries across the globe. Let's start with technology. That whole AI super cycle we've been hearing about, it's hitting a major slowdown. And why? Because both the US and China are now obsessed with self-reliance. So you have Washington restricting access to advanced AI chips, and what does Beijing do? In response, they ban the export of key components you need to make those chips. And the result of all this? A totally fragmented tech sector, and someone just slammed the brakes on innovation. And the shifts we're seeing in agriculture? They are just as massive. Tectonic, really. China is aggressively moving its supply chains away from the US and looking towards places like South America. For American farmers, this isn't just a temporary dip. This is a potentially permanent loss of one of their most critical markets. That's a huge deal. I mean, the scale of this collapse is just jaw-dropping. Take a look at this. In 2017, U.S. farm exports to China were worth almost $20 billion. A single year later, after those retaliatory tariffs kicked in, that number was cut by more than half. Just gone. And you can see exactly who felt the pain the most. Soybeans alone took a hit of over $9 billion. Sorghum and pork? massive losses there too. And if you look at a map, all that economic pain was concentrated right in the heart of the American Midwest. We're talking states like Iowa, Illinois, and Kansas.
So all this economic fragmentation isn't just about numbers on a chart. It is literally reshaping the entire globe. And that brings us to our final section, the emergence of a completely new bipolar world. What we're witnessing here is two competing spheres of influence forming right in front of us. On one side, you've got the US-led bloc. They're all about homeshoring and friendshoring, securing supply chains within their dollar-dominated system. And on the other side, you've got China expanding its Belt and Road Initiative and building out its very own yuan-based payment system, one that's designed to bypass the dollar completely.
And the consequence of all this fracturing? It's a world that is completely on edge. The probability of a global recession is now sitting at a critical 35%. Think about that. The margin for error, it's gone. Vanished.
The ultimate danger here, it's systemic. Because as trade grinds to a halt and the cost of borrowing money just soars, the entire post-Cold War order is put at risk. The real threat isn't one big shock to the system. No, it's the slow, steady, grinding fragmentation of the whole thing. Look, this has evolved way beyond a battle over balance sheets and trade deficits. This is now a battle for the future of the global operating system itself. And the big question, the one that will define this decade, is whether the world can actually survive this decoupling without a total, catastrophic economic collapse.